Okay, entertainment has become codependent. It actually wants you to engage and interact all the time. The age of passivity is gone. Now, I am a transmedia storyteller. I seed elements of my narrative across various platforms, including you, human beings. The story I'm about to tell you is part of my life, and it's something that I have done over the years. It's based on one thing and one thing alone, practice, more than 20 years of practice, no academic research or anything like that. But first, I'll start with a story. On the stroke of midnight in 2020, I will walk into Trafalgar Square in London. I will have a little vial with me of concentrated dye. I will walk up to one of the fountains and I'll pour it in and I'll turn every single bit of water in Trafalgar Square blood red. Now, I'll leave that with you just for a second. So, I know you're sitting there wondering, why? Well, it's my story. And first and foremost, the most important part here is, be it 2020, be it when you visit London, be it you see a photograph of London, whether you're in Trafalgar Square with me at that precise point is irrelevant. The key thing is I have sown a seed of a narrative in your mind. And when a friend ever says, hey, I'm going to Trafalgar Square, you think, did that lunatic actually do that stuff? Yes, and that is how it is. Now, the latest trend in storytelling, in digital storytelling, is digital. Now, you have the likes of Facebook and the likes of Instagram and all these other platforms that people have plowed a colossal amount of money into. Now, the one thing that everyone seems to have missed is nobody really wants to be the story. They want to be part of the story, but not the story itself. So here we are in 2018. And unfortunately, it seems as if we've morphed into an entity that has forgotten how to live the moment. Not live for the moment, but live for the moment itself. And you've got companies that have plowed millions into this sort of entertainment. And us, well, we spend most of our time going around like that, living our lives vicariously through a digital device. You know, we think we're connected, but we're so far from it. So, scaling back, nostalgia, storytelling, little campfire storytelling actually had a purpose. It helped build pillars of community and society. We connected, we kicked back. There was a person-interpersonal interaction, and it worked. It served its purpose. And that is why I'm here today to say, I believe storytelling can change the world. All we have to do is give it a little bit of a push. So, a few years ago, I went to a place that changed my life, had a major impact on my life. I'll ask a show of hands before I click the video, and you'll see what I'm talking about. How many people here have heard about Burning Man? Can I have a show of hands, please? No, not Birmingham. So, how many people, show of hands, you've heard Burning Man. You've heard about the parties, the wildness, the fire, all the rest of the stuff. Well, Burning Man is very, very different. For me, it's changed my life, it's changed my practice, and it's changed just about every aspect of my existence. It is one of the few places where I have seen a colossal amount of skill exchange. You will have CEOs and the world's smartest minds working alongside artists and novices, and they're imparting a lot of that knowledge. That's so much so that when people leave the desert, there's a very strong chance that they may end up changing their lives. Not, hey, I want to go and party and have a rave, but no, I can actually do some of these things. And the sheer interaction that you have with these people means you actually develop a bit of self-belief yourself. Now, I was a journalist working for the BBC, and I was sent out on my very first assignment. So I got to this amazing place. And within the first few hours, I realized my journalistic skills were irrelevant. They were secondary, because the city was being built. Now, this is a city that is built by participants. The organization has very, very little to do with it. And it's more or less like having a blank canvas where every single person is a stroke. And the story itself is the event. People hardly ever refer to it as their own personal experience. They do that in relation to the 70,000 other people that are with them in the desert. Anyhow, I was there, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I had my camera. I filmed a few hours of people building. I just thought, hey, this is going to suck. I'm going to get back home to the UK. And my editors wonder, why have you got all this footage of people filming? So put my camera down. And I offered to help. And one of the guys came up and said, hey, take this drill bit and put these bits together and let's, just make stuff and put these 2x4s together and this is what we're doing. Now, the key thing here is, if you know me, you will know never to give me a power tool. Within the first hour, I wrecked 2 drills. So there we were in the middle of the desert trying to build this thing. In the middle of nowhere with very little resources, and I was letting the side down. And then one of the guys came up and just said, hey, do you know how to make cocktails? I said, yeah, actually, I'm very good in the kitchen. No, we're not bothered about the kitchen bit. How about the drinking? I said, yeah, I'm good. So that was how I found my place within the community. My job was keeping the workers well and truly lubricated. So what happened was I found myself in a place where the little skill that I had was valued. Now, I come from an environment where if you don't fit in or you haven't got the right skill set, you're brushed to one side, you're pushed away. Whereas within this community, it was totally and utterly different. So I decided that, I was going to take a little bit of that magic and sprinkle it, that dust, and sprinkle it over almost every single thing that I did. And for me, it was proof of concept that collectively, you can actually kind of work on a concept towards a greater good. Now, not a single person there will actually say, yeah, I went to Burning Man, it was great. They'll tell you in relation to other things. And for me, my eureka moment was when the man went up in flames. Now, some of you probably have good experience of dealing with fire. I come from a household where my mom said, don't play with fire, just stay away from that stuff. Now, my proximity to this thing singed my eyebrows and punched my lungs that I basically almost passed out. It was amazing, it was colossal. But it was good. And I was there not as an individual, but I was there amongst 17,000 other people who shared that same experience. And that became the thing I spoke about. Not, I went to Burning Man, I had a great time, but I went to Burning Man, look at what we did. So I got home, and I decided to incorporate some of this co-created element into my life. I got a job working on this weird concept. You may have heard about it, and this was in the year 1999, 2000. It's called reality television. I guess you know what reality TV is. This was way before the likes of Big Brother came along and messed everything up. So we were tasked with creating a travel log, and I wanted to do something different. I wanted to take some of the aspects that I'd learned at Burning Man and incorporate it into this. So what I did was got the team together and we worked out a process. Applications came in, we had more than 1,000, we chose 4 couples out of more than 1,000 applicants. Now, this was a travelogue, we did the auditions and they went really, really well, and people were really happy. We chose our people, here they are, ready to go on a travelogue around the world, all expenses covered. On the other side of the room, after the audition, we had tons of people who were just, they were at the bar drinking, they were a little bit upset. They weren't going on this adventure. And I turned around and I said, okay, guys, this is where your story starts. And they said, what do you mean? I said, you are going to control every aspect of this television show. Where these people go, what they eat, where they visit, what they wear, all the respective tasks. And they said, wow, that's really cool. Oh, yeah, we like that. That's really good. I said, no, it doesn't stop there. Here's the deal. If they don't complete 3 tasks in a row, we're going to bring them home, and one of you gets to go out and carry on that adventure. And all hell broke loose. we got rid of that fourth wall. I mean, this was a time when the nearest you could get to a television program was either sending an email or turning up at the reception of a television company, knocking on the door and demanding to see the editor. Well, we turned that all around. And then things changed. I was invited with a couple of friends to create a little project because we wanted to push the boundaries even further. This was co-created stories at their best. We were approached by a company who wanted us to do a background story for a World War II video game inspired by a lady called Violet Sabo. Some of you may recognize the still up. It's from a film called Carve Her Name with Pride, which was released in 1958. And it's about a real-life World War II hero who sent coded messages back to her handlers in London in love poems. And they based this whole video game on that. And I kind of went in and said, you are expecting us to gamify a game? And they said, yes. The game's not even out for the next year. And our job was to take gamers away from their screens and co-create a reality that they were going to make. I said, well, okay. Fortunately for me, at that precise time, there was a news report saying that some people had found there was a massive excavation going off in Germany where they believed a whole load of World War II gold was hidden. So I called the editor. He was in Austin. I just said, the person who produced the game, I said, you signed off on this budget? He said, yes. I said, good. Well, I need another budget. He said, why? I said, well, I need a budget for gold. And he asked, what? I said, yeah, this is what we're going to do. We are going to create a proper treasure hunt where people will create this amazing world in search of gold. So he signed off, and we bought 2 solid gold bars, and we hid them in alternate parts of the world. Now, when the gamers got going, they created this amazing hive mind that started working through all the various things. And it was really, really cool. But then it got to a point where I realized the game was no longer in our hands, because we had a little bit of cryptography, a little bit of a coded message within it. This is Enigma sort of stuff. And one of the players got in touch with a serving naval officer who was on a submarine to help crack this code. And that's where I thought, okay, game on. Now, this lady found one of the gold bars. The key thing here was the journey. People were not interested. I mean, she was led by people all around the world. They weren't interested in the prize. They had no interest whatsoever in the gold. They just wanted to create this reality, and that worked for me. I still get a message from one of the people every year to say, guess how much this thing's now worth? Now, we have more than 2.2 billion gamers. Imagine if we created a participatory concept that dealt with world issues. No brand involved. I mean, if there's a brand, the brand should be hidden, but just something that people could latch onto and just change things. So, I decided to go one further. I've been dealing with top-level sort of stuff, and there's a certain amount of pushback. But then I realized that maybe the best way to actually approach this is to go for a younger audience and actually start to break brains on a lower level and get them to actually embrace collaborative, co-creative storytelling. And then I had this weird idea. I've been working on this project. I said, well, one of the main issues with a lot of kids and in various places, like out-of-town places, is there's a major brain drain. When children they leave home at a very young age, disappear out of small towns. I said, wouldn't it be great if I actually had the opportunity of creating a narrative that gave people pride and a connection with their local community to stop that brain drain? So I found a school that I'm working with. Now, this is a drama school in the Lake District, small town, in a place called Kendall. The kids there, some of them have to travel 2 hours every morning to get into school and 2 hours to get back home. It's not one of these overdeveloped areas. I mean, they're in the middle of nowhere. They're drama students. They're used to acting. They want to escape to London and Edinburgh and do their thing. Well, I created this narrative where they has started writing a story based on a fictional project that I've been working on, where they've created newspaper articles every day based on a fictional a fictional Victorian all-female airship squadron called Angel Corps, who happened to be Queen Victoria's only prized group. Now, I take it most of you who know about steampunk. Yeah, well, it's make-believe, and that's where I'm thinking, should I call it Victoriana, should I call it steampunk? It's weird science. Anyhow, so I've got these kids writing these stories. Not only have they been publishing them on a daily basis, but they have to connect with the history of the local area to actually start putting a lot of these component parts together. Not just that, but they've also made uniforms. They're going to be doing a major parade going all the way through town this coming Saturday, a firelit procession, harking back to God knows when. Steampunk never really existed. But the main thing is, they are learning about their local area. They have a sense of pride and presence, and adults are helping them. The idea is, if they kind of form communities, they create little clusters of interest, it will stop them escaping to the cities. I mean, Oxford, right? There was a time when Oxford was just a small little town that no one went to. Then it got a university, and then it's done really well. And now everybody wants to go to Oxford. Well, that can happen anywhere else. And this is my troupe in rehearsal. I'm pretty proud of these. So this coming Saturday, they are going to be parading through town as proud as they possibly can be, having created a massive, immersive, participatory experience that actually starts at 10 o'clock in the morning and finishes at 2 a.m. Yes. And these are kids who'd never written or done anything like this apart from being told, act, role play, whatever they do. I'm not into drama as such. Now, I believe storytelling can change the world if targeted properly. So my general gist is, can I have a show of hands? Who's going to meet me Trafalgar Square 2020, midnight? Thank you.